Hi everyone. Good afternoon. This actually is going to go up when I'm right after I'm recording it. That's so rare for me. So hi everyone. It's been an interesting week for me. I leave on Tuesday morning very early to head to Los Angeles for two events and a movie premiere, and I've been struggling to get everything done before I leave for that. So hence that's why it's been a little shaky with my searching for dragons uploads. So I'm actually going to finish the chapter. I'm going to put it up now. And then I'm going to bring the third book with me and attempt to do some while I'm traveling. But if not, it may be a week or so until I start this up again. So anyway, this is for Blue. Hi, Blue. This is chapter 18 of Searching for Dragons called In Which Willen Finally Gets to Arrange a Formal Celebration. It's wonderful. For the next several days, Mendenbar was busier than he could remember being in a long, long time. Besides, arranging for Crown Prince Jorlim's schooling, a stream of messengers had to be sent to the dragons of the Mountains of Morning to explain where their king was and to warn them about the wizards. Morwen and Telemaine argued constantly, of course they did, about what they were finding out from the wizard staffs. When they weren't arguing, they were asking for obscure reference books and peculiar ingredients for their spells. Between the two of them, they kept the small castle staff busy hunting for things. The wizards themselves seemed to have disappeared completely, but Mendenbar didn't trust them to stay gone. He spent several hours every day checking the entire network of magic that enveloped the enchanted forest, looking for the tangles that wizards with staffs always cause, so that he would know if any of them returned. In the process, he found several more burnout areas where the wizards had stolen the magic of the forest. Unfortunately, none of the charred spots were very big, but repairing them was not an easy task, and Mendenbar worried constantly about what would happen if wizards sneaked into the forest and soaked up a larger patch before he could be melted. He confided this worry to Cimmerian on the third day after Kazul's rescue. "What you really need is a way to keep them from soaking up magic in the first place," said Cimmerian. "Then it wouldn't matter if they sneaked in, because they wouldn't be able to do any real harm." "They could still cause plenty of trouble," Mendenbar said. "But you're right, it would solve a lot of the problems. Unfortunately, I can't think of a way to stop them." "Well, of course you can't," Cimmerian said. "You don't know enough about wizards and that ridiculous magic-absorbing spell of theirs. Why don't you ask Telemaine?" So Mendenbar went off to find Telemaine, who was with Morwen working on the last of the wizard's staffs. At first Telemaine was a little annoyed at being interrupted, but when Mendenbar explained his problem, however, the magician nodded. "An automatic spell to reroute any magical power should do the trick," Telemaine said. "That way anything they try to grab will just slide back where it belongs, and there will never be any new holes to fix." Morwen looked at Telemaine in mild surprise. "You're slipping," she said. I actually understand that. Can you... Bless her heart. "Can you make up an automatic spell for me?" Mendenbar asked quickly before Telemaine could take offense. "It shouldn't be a problem," Telemaine said. "It'll need some sort of anchor, though, or you'll have to keep checking to see if it's still working. Any ideas?" The three of them discussed it for a few minutes, and finally Morwen suggested tying the spell to the sword. This turned out to be an even better idea than it first appeared. Working through the sword, Mendenbar could manipulate the power of the enchanted forest directly, and with Telemaine's help, he made the new spell an integral part of the forest's magic. "What does that mean?" Cimmerian asked, when he sought her out to tell her how well her idea had worked. "It means that if any wizards come into the enchanted forest, their staffs won't absorb any magic, ever, for as long as they stay," Mendenbar explained. "I wouldn't even have to check the spell very often because it's tied to the sword. As long as the sword is anywhere in the forest, the wizards can't do a thing." Cimmerian frowned. "They could still use the spells they have stored in their staffs, couldn't they?" "And what if you have to leave the enchanted forest again?" "I'll have to take a different magic sword, that's all," Mendenbar said. "I have to do that anyway because of the way that one sprays magic around outside the forest. It's not exactly inconspicuous." "Very true," Cimmerian said with a smile. They were silent together for a moment, then Cimmerian shook her head. "Kazula will be ready to leave tomorrow. She thinks she's ready today, but I told her not to push." That's good," Mendenbar said. He hesitated, then said tentatively, "I suppose you'll be going with her?" "What else would I be doing?" Cimmerian asked. She sounded more curious than sarcastic. Mendenbar took a deep breath. "Well, you could stay here, at the castle. I mean, with me." "Are you..." Okay, wait, let me keep reading. Is what I think is happening? This wasn't coming out at all the way he'd wanted it to. No, because I'm not sure what... I mean, is this a romantic thing? Anyway, this isn't coming out all the way he had wanted it to, but it was too late to stop now. He hurried on. "Oh, as Queen of the Enchanted Forest, if you think you would like that. I would." Would you really?" "Yes," Mendenbar said, looking down. "I love you, and you should have said that to begin with," Cimmerian interrupted, putting her arms around him. Mendenbar looked up, and the expression on her face made his heart begin to pound. "Just to be sure I have this right," Cimmerian went on with a blinding smile. Did you just ask me to marry you? Yes, Minibar said. At least that's what I meant. Good, I will. Oh, I love you, Simrine. Minibar tried to find something to say, but he was too happy to think. He leaned forward 2 inches and kissed Simrine and discovered he didn't need to say anything at all. You're not okay. This book's not okay. The first person they told was, of course, Kazul. Minibar was a little nervous about it because, from what he'd heard, dragons tended to get testy when their princesses ran off with someone, but Kazul didn't seem to mind at all. Good for you, she said to Minibar, and congratulations to the pair of you. Her eyelids lowered halfway and she looked at Simrine. I'd been wondering how much longer you were going to stay. I don't know what you mean, Simrine said indignantly. I wasn't planning to leave. This just sort of happened. I know, Gazul said, but you'd have gone soon in any case. Now that you've gotten things organized, there isn't really enough work to keep you busy in the mountains of mourning. You wouldn't have stayed long once you started to get bored. No, don't say that. Living with dragons doesn't sound boring to me, Mendembar said. That's because you've never done it, Kazul replied. Being queen of the enchanted forest will give Simri more scope for her talents. Then you really don't object? Mendembar asked. Why should I? Kazul said. You're a nice enough person, as humans go. As humans go. And you've been very polite about the whole thing. That doesn't happen often. Normally knights and princes just grab a princess and run. And most of the princesses don't even bother to say goodbye, much less give proper notice. She looked at Simrine and sighed. I'll miss your cooking, though. I can come back for a week or two if you'd like and train a replacement, Simrine offered. I may take you up on that once I find one, Kazul said thoughtfully. And in the meantime, you can come over for dinner a lot, Mendenbar said, and both Simrine and Kazul smiled at him. No, this is really cute. When Willin heard about the engagement, he was delighted. Oh, he's going to be so excited. The wedding of the king of the enchanted forest was just the sort of vast formal occasion the elf had been craving, and he threw himself into the preparations with enthusiasm. He didn't even object when he learned that the bride wanted the king of the dragons for her matron of honor and a witch for her bridesmaid. Gazul and Morwen are my best friends, Simrine explained. Besides, if I have them, Mother won't insist that my sisters be bridesmaids. You have sisters? Mendebar asked, somewhat taken aback. Simrine nodded. 6 of them. They're all perfectly lovely and sweet, and the sight of Gazul will probably scare them silly. Typical princesses, Mendebar muttered, but without any active dislike. He didn't seem to mind foolish princesses much anymore, as long as he didn't have to marry one. It was amazing what a difference being engaged to Simrine made. They aren't as featherbrained as they sound, Simrine told him. They just act as if they are. I don't think I like the sound of that, Mendebar said. Are you sure they won't want to be bridesmaids anyway? Maybe we should just elope. No, it's too late for that, Simrine told him. Don't worry about it, though. It'll still work out fine. If you say so, Mendebar said, but he was not really convinced. That note Simrine's mother sent to acknowledge the engagement only increased Mendebar's misgivings. I'm delighted to hear that you are going to be properly settled at last, Simrine dear, read the note. I'm enclosing a list of relatives and family friends who ought to certainly be included in your wedding plans, however unconventional those may be. Your father wishes to know which half of the kingdom your betrothed would prefer, as he is anxious to get the paperwork out of the way as soon as possible. Half the kingdom? Mendebar asked cautiously. Simrine looked more than a little put out. It's the usual reward for rescuing a princess from a dragon. I'd hoped they'd forgotten about it, but I should have known better. Mother would never do anything so incorrect. Well, I don't want it. 1 kingdom is more than enough for me. Then you better write them immediately and tell them so, Simrine advised. Otherwise, I'll have all the forms and documents and records written out, signed by 20 noble witnesses, and sealed by every member of the Father's Council, and you'll never be able to get rid of it. I kind of like that he's like, no, I don't want it. No more. Excuse me. I'll see to it at once. Good. Simrine picked up the long list of names that had been enclosed with the note. I'll take this to Willin, so someone can start addressing the invitations. Do we have to invite all of them? We might as well, Simrine said. We're asking everyone else, and most of them are family. I think it would be easier to elope, Mendebar said. The guest list was enormous. I feel like a Willin would enjoy the fact that it's this big. Almost all the dragons were coming, and so were a great many of their princesses, past and present. After some initial misgivings, Simrine's entire family decided to attend, including all 6 of her sisters and their husbands, her 14 nieces and nephews, her parents, 3 of her aunts, 2 uncles, 17 cousins, and her fairy godmother. Queen Alexandra was also coming, along with all 12 of her daughters. Mendebar could... 12? Holy God! Mendebar couldn't help feeling a little nervous about that, out of habit. It's just... Sorry, 12. I come from a huge family. I think I'm number 9. I don't remember. It's a lot. There's so many people in my family. It's not often that I see big families in fiction. Mendabar couldn't help feeling a little nervous about that, out of habit. All the kings and queens and princes and grand dukes who had lived around the edges of the enchanted forest had to be invited, and so had most of the odd and unusual people who lived inside the forest as well. Sorry, bumping the desk. Even the ogres and trolls had agreed to behave themselves if they were allowed to be present. In fact, the only people who hadn't been invited were the wizards. Well, good, fuck 'em. This wedding will be the best and most prestigious event in years, Willen said happily as the acceptances poured in. Certainly going to be the biggest, Mendenbar said, gazing at the stacks of paper in mild amazement. Where are we going to put them all? You are not to worry about that, Your Majesty, Willen told him sternly. It is my job to oversee the preparations, and that includes arranging an appropriate place to hold the ceremony and the reception afterward. I really think it would have been easier to elope, Mendenbar grumbled. I wonder if he's going to end up liking his wedding, or if he's still going to be like, no, I wish I didn't have it. In the end, they decided to hold the wedding in Fireflower Meadow. The gargoyle in Mendenbar's study complained about the decision long and loudly because it would obviously be unable to attend, but the meadow was the only open area in the entire enchanted forest that would be large enough for the enormous crowd of guests. I bet you think that makes it all right, the gargoyle told Mendenbar and Cimmerian several days before the wedding. Just because you want to have hundreds and hundreds of people at your wedding, I'm supposed to smile and say I don't mind being left out. Well, it isn't all right and I won't do it. I wouldn't expect you to smile about anything, Mendenbar muttered. Oh, Cimmerian studied the gargoyle thoughtfully. If you're that eager to come, I suppose we could take the molding in that corner apart and find someone to bring you down to the field to watch, she offered. The gargoyle looked down at her in alarm. Take me apart? Oh, no, you don't. I'm not stupid. I know what would happen. Even if you managed to get me out of here without damaging me, you'd forget to put me back afterward, and I'd spend centuries in a storeroom somewhere. Dust and dry rot. Well, then I'm afraid all I can do is stop in before I leave for the ceremony, Cimmerian said. Unless Telemaine can fix up a spell on one of the windows so you can watch from here. I don't want that magician messing around with anything in my... Wait a minute. Did you say you'd stop in? You mean here? In this room? That's what she said, Mendenbar told it. I wasn't talking to you, the gargoyle said. Looking back at Cimmerian, it went on. You mean you'd come here and see me before the wedding? That's right, Cimmerian said, nodding. Right before. All dressed up. And everything. Of course, Cimmerian promised. Hot dogs, said the gargoyle. Are there hot dogs in this world? I'll take it. Oh boy. Now I can't stop thinking about hot dogs in the enchanted forest. I hate my brain. I'll take it. Oh boy, I can hardly wait. This is going to be even better than going to the wedding. It is? Mendenbar said suspiciously. Why? Because I'll get to see her all dolled up before you do. That's why, the gargoyle answered smugly. Everybody knows the groom doesn't get to see the bride on the wedding day until the ceremony, and she's going to stop in here first. Oh boy, oh boy. Mendenbar looked at Cimmerian. He's right, you know, Cimmerian said apologetically. And I've promised. He's never going to let me forget this, Mendenbar muttered and left to talk to Telemaine about setting up Fireflower Meadow for the wedding. Despite Willen's determination to handle the wedding plans himself, there were a number of things only Mendenbar could do. Among the most important was making sure that Fireflower Meadow and the area around it stayed firmly in one spot on the day of the wedding, so that all the guests could find it. This was not an easy thing to arrange. Even with Telemaine's help, it took Mendenbar several days' worth of work before he was positive no one would miss the wedding because of a shift in the forest. The night before the ceremony, Mendenbar and Telemaine went over the whole field an inch at a time to make certain that all the fireflowers had been picked so that none of the guests would get an accidental hotfoot, and to take care of any lingering minor enchantments. They found 2 princesses who had been turned into pinks, a frog prince, and a hedgehog that had once been somebody's groom. All of them were grateful to be disenchanted and very happy to be invited to the wedding. A hedgehog. The day of the wedding dawned bright and clear. Telemaine had spent most of the previous week making sure that it would, while explaining to anyone who would listen that weather magic worked best if one set it up over a long period of time, which was what made it so difficult. The guests started arriving early, and Mendenbar was kept busy greeting them. A large corner of the field had been roped off as a landing place for the dragons, and for most of the morning the sky was full of flashing green wings. Balamor and Davalon, who had come the previous evening to make sure their cauldron of plenty would have enough time to produce a proper wedding dinner for so many guests, directed traffic, as they were the only ones large enough for the dragons to see clearly from a distance amid the growing crowd. This is a long section coming up, so I'm going to stop this here and finish the book in the next video.